Welcome to Shadowed Tales Archive. Tonight's story is titled, The Tune Beyond the Pines. Let the shadows speak.
Part 1. The Whispering Maples. I never believed in haunted forests. Even now, after everything, I still don't know if what I saw was real or just the last unraveling threads of my mind trying to make sense of something that defied logic. But I can't deny what I heard. The sound that never left me. The tune. They called it Hollow Pines when I was a kid. An old patch of woods past the old quarry, thick with maples and pines so close together they choked out the moonlight. The kind of place you only ended up if you were dared into it, or looking to get high and not be bothered. I never had a reason to go, not until Mason dragged us all there one night last fall. Mason Blackwell. Tall, twitchy, with that anxious energy of someone always trying to prove something. He'd just gotten back from college, semester break or whatever, and was itching to do something memorable. That word would take on a whole new weight by the end of the night. It started harmless enough. Just a plan to hang out, drink a little, and maybe scare each other. Me, Mason, his cousin Erica, her girlfriend Jules, and Danny, my roommate. We were 20-somethings pretending we weren't scared of the dark, but we still brought 2 flashlights and a box of glow sticks like kids on Halloween. We parked by the service trail, far enough from town that there weren't even street lights, just the kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. The trees swallowed the noise like a mouth swallowing breath. "This place is dead," Jules said, scanning the treetops. "Literally. No wind, no bugs, no nothing." "That's why it's perfect," Mason grinned, tossing a beer can into the undergrowth. "It's like acoustically dead. No ambient noise. That's rare." Danny rolled his eyes. "Cool. So we're ghost hunting with a sound engineer." "I'm serious," Mason said. "The forest is like a vacuum here. That's why people say they hear things." That should have been our first sign. We walked maybe 20 minutes into the woods, passing broken fences, a stone wall overgrown with moss, and what looked like the ruins of an old fire pit. At some point, Mason started whistling. It wasn't a tune I recognized, just a drifting melody, lazy and oddly cheerful. The kind of whistle someone makes when they're pretending not to be scared. He kept it going until we reached the clearing. There was a house there. No one had mentioned a house. It was half swallowed by vines, with windows like blackened eyes and a sagging porch that tilted forward like it wanted to speak. An old Victorian, maybe 3 stories if you counted the tower that leaned like it had been drinking. It shouldn't have been there. "Dude," Erica said, stepping back. "What the hell is this place?" Mason looked smug. "Told you it was real. Found it on an old county survey map. It was listed as Pine Hollow Orphanage. Closed in 1956. "Orphanage?" Jules echoed. "Why does that make it creepier?" "Because it burned down," Mason said. The air shifted when he said it. Not colder, exactly, heavier. Like the trees had stopped listening and started watching. "Only part of it," he added, waving at the intact facade. "The west wing. Some say it never burned at all. Just faded. I don't know why we followed him inside. Curiosity. You go. That group pressure you don't notice until it's too late." The floor creaked under our feet like bones remembering pain, and the air smelled like wet dust and moldy wood. Inside it was worse. The entry hall stretched longer than it should have. Wallpaper peeled like sunburned skin, and blackened handprints dotted the walls too high for children to reach. Mason led with his phone flashlight. The rest of us cracked the glow sticks, green and purple light leaking across the rotting boards like chemical veins. We passed rooms filled with rusted bed frames, broken toys, and chairs facing corners. Every door we opened groaned as if complaining about being disturbed. Then came the music box. Danny found it in a drawer. Old brass with a ballerina inside, but when he wounded, no music came out. Just a faint click, click, click. Broke it, he muttered, setting it down. That's when we heard the whistle again. But Mason wasn't doing it. It came from the floor above, soft, looping, playful. The same strange tune Mason had whistled earlier, but slower, more deliberate, like someone was mocking him. We froze. You hear that? Jules whispered. Yeah, I said. It's probably just... Mason started, but the whistle shifted. It wasn't alone anymore. There was breathing, shallow, wheezing, and close, right behind the wall. I don't remember who moved first, but suddenly we were all scrambling toward the exit, until the door slammed shut. Not slammed like the wind blew it. It was shut with force. I ran to yank it open, but it wouldn't budge. Locked from the outside. Mason, Erica screamed. Is this a joke? But his face had gone pale. I swear I didn't. The whistling started again. Closer. From inside the walls. Part 2. The room that didn't burn. The lights died first. Our glow sticks flickered like dying fireflies, then blinked out entirely. Mason's phone shut off too, the screen cracking with a soft pop like it had overheated. The dark closed in so fast it felt physical, pressing against our faces, crawling into our ears. For a few heartbeats, none of us spoke. Then someone, I think it was Jules, whispered, "We need to move. Now." The only thing guiding us was memory, the layout of the hallway, the direction of the stairs. Mason stumbled forward, his hand grazing the wall for balance. I grabbed Danny's sleeve and didn't let go. We were halfway back toward the foyer when the air changed again. Colder this time, but also off. It smelled like singed paper and damp fabric, like something that had once burned but didn't finish the job. And underneath it, a sharp whiff of metal. Blood. We reached the staircase and stopped. It was lit. Not with flashlights or moonlight, but with a soft, flickering glow, like candles. No flames were visible, yet the steps pulsed gently with a gold-red hue. Something was waiting at the top. None of us spoke, but we all felt it. That presence, thick like syrup in our lungs. The whistling started again, high above us, and this time it was paired with something new. Thump. Then again. Thump. Like someone hopping on one leg, or dragging the other behind. Don't go up, Erica whispered. We need to find another way out, I said. Back door. Window. Something. Mason pointed toward a hallway that branched off near the rear of the house. There's a kitchen. It might lead to the yard. None of us wanted to move, but standing still was worse. We turned away from the stairs and walked in tight formation, the sound of footsteps above us following in staggered rhythm. Thump, thump, wheel. The melody was clearer now, repetitive, cyclical, like a song remembered half wrong. It wasn't just a whistle anymore. It was a call, and someone was answering it. The kitchen was worse than the hall. It looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. Dishes still sat in a sink full of black water. Mice had tunneled through boxes of flour. The walls were smeared with handprints, some small, childlike, some much larger. Too large. There was a door leading to the backyard. It was nailed shut. Dozens of rusted nails pierced the frame, some bent, others fresh. Whatever lived here, or didn't, had gone out of its way to make sure no one left once they came in. Jules tried to pull at the boards. These are new, she muttered. Why the hell are they new? No one answered. We were all staring at the center of the floor. There were footprints, not dusty but wet, muddy, as if someone had just walked through. They were barefoot, long, narrow, and mismatched, one normal, the other twisted. The toes bent sideways. The heel was almost missing, like it had been melted. They led into the pantry. "We're not going in there," Danny said flatly, but Mason was already looking inside. "There's a door," he said. "A trapdoor. Might lead to the cellar." "No," Erica snapped. "We don't split up. Haven't you seen any horror movie ever?" "I'm not splitting up," Mason said. "I'm getting us out." He opened the trapdoor. The smell hit us instantly, stronger than before. Smoke, rot, old mold, and iron. It curled up through the gap like steam from a boil. The whistling stopped. All of us stood still. Then we heard it. A voice. Faint. Fragile. Almost childlike. "You came back." Jules screamed. Mason fell backward, slamming the trapdoor shut. Something slammed into it from beneath, once and then nothing. Dead silence. We backed into the hallway, hearts hammering. I could feel my pulse in my teeth. The dark felt thicker again, like we were being swallowed by tar. "I'm done," Danny muttered. "We break a damn window." But none of them would open. Every window in the house, nailed, barred, sealed. Even ones that were visibly broken from the outside had intact glass from within. That's when I saw the portrait. It was hanging crooked on the wall across from the stairwell. A family photo, black and white, aged. 6 children, all in identical uniforms. Wide-eyed, unsure. And behind them, a man. Tall, thin, with hollow cheeks and a smile stretched too wide. His hand rested on one child's shoulder. He was whistling. You could see the pursed lips in the photo. There were no eyes, just black pits where they should have been. And the thing that gripped my spine like a fist? His feet. One was bare, long. The other, melted. We ran. Back through the entry hall, down corridors we hadn't yet explored. At some point, Erica tripped, and when I helped her up, I saw it again. More footprints. Only now they were in blood, leading toward the stairs. And the whistling was coming from everywhere. No longer soft. It was triumphant, like it knew we were trapped. Part 3. The Man Who Taught Silence. The house changed when we saw the photo. Not physically, the walls didn't shift, doors didn't slam, but something underneath changed. Like the place had been pretending to be empty and now decided to admit it wasn't. Mason was the first to speak. "He's here." Danny looked like he wanted to punch him. "What the hell are you talking about?" "The man in the photo," Mason whispered. "He's the one whistling." "People don't whistle without lungs," Erica snapped. "What kind of sick?" "No," Mason cut in. "Listen, it's the same melody I did earlier, right? That's not coincidence. I didn't make it up." "You said it was random," I said. "I thought it was," he replied, face pale. "But I've heard it before. Years ago. That stopped all of us." "You never mentioned that," Jules said cautiously. Mason swallowed. "I didn't remember it until now. But when I was little, maybe 6 or 7, I had this recurring dream. Every night I'd be standing at the edge of a forest, and someone would be inside whistling that exact tune. Same cadence, same rhythm." He paused, and he'd call me. Not with words, just the whistle. We didn't know what to do with that. None of us wanted to believe this was more than some prank gone wrong. But the panic in Mason's eyes was too raw to fake. And deep down, we all knew something ancient had its eyes on us now. We found a stairwell near the east wing, narrower than the main one, wood creaking with every step. Danny refused to go first. Jules stayed behind to help Erica with her ankle, so Mason and I went up ahead, glow sticks faint and flickering. The second floor looked different, less decayed. The walls were intact, the wallpaper a faded pastel instead of black rot. The floorboards felt solid, not damp. Dust hung in the air, but there was no mold. It felt preserved. "Why is it cleaner here?" I asked. Mason didn't answer. He was staring at the end of the hallway, where a single open door led into what looked like a classroom. Low desk, shelves of broken toys, a slate board scrawled with chalk. We stepped inside. The chalkboard read, "Silence is respect. Silence is obedience. Silence is good." There were tiny scratch marks below each phrase, rows and rows of them, as if someone had carved with fingernails into the slate. One desk had an old notebook on it, a child's composition book, the kind with the marbled cover. I opened it. The pages were stiff with age, some stuck together. But what was legible chilled me more than the footsteps, the blood, the trapdoor. Drawings. Stick-figure children, mouths scratched out. A tall man with one melted leg. A series of red crayon spirals that grew tighter on each page, until the last one simply said, "He teaches you to be quiet." That's when we heard the knock. Not from the hallway. From inside the wall. 3 soft taps. Pause. Then again. Knock. 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 We backed up, eyes locked on the far side of the room where a large bookcase stood flush against the plaster. Knock. 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 Then the whistling. Close now. From behind the wall. So close you could feel the air shift with each note. I grabbed Mason's arm and we bolted. Back at the stairs, we found Erica and Jules gone. Only the glow stick Erica had been holding remained, cracked, drained of color. There was no sound, no footstep, not even breath, only the whistling. And this time it came from outside the house. We rushed to the nearest window, still barred, still sealed. But through the glass we could see the yard, the tall grass moving again in that same pattern. Footsteps with no feet, crushed reeds, bent stalks, the unmistakable weight of something heavy and invisible stepping through the field, dragging a leg, and behind it, 2 figures, standing still, facing the house. "Mason," I whispered, "that's..." "I know." It was Erica and Jules, but they weren't moving, just standing upright in the field like dolls set in place. Eyes wide, unblinking, and both of them were whistling, the same exact tune. I turned to Mason. "We have to go." He didn't answer. He was frozen, eyes fixed on the hallway. "Look," he whispered. There, at the end of the corridor, stood the man from the photo. He was tall, too tall, dressed in tattered clothing that hung like soaked curtains. His mouth twisted into a cruel smile, frozen in whistle form. One eye was socketed with shadow. The other glowed faint orange like an ember inside a skull. And the sound he made wasn't just whistling anymore. It was command. A tune that didn't just echo, it called. Mason started walking toward him. I tried to grab him, but my hand passed through smoke. Not his body, mine. My fingers went numb. My eyes stung. I couldn't move. The man opened his mouth wider, and the tune changed. Now it was deeper, slower. The kind of song you whistle to end something, not to begin it. A lullaby for forgetting. I don't remember how I got out. 1 second I was in the hallway, the next I was crawling through thorns behind the house. My hands were bleeding, shirt torn, lungs raw from screaming I don't recall making. There were no cars, no friends, only that tune, still playing somewhere behind me, growing fainter but never stopping. And just before I collapsed on the service road and passed out, I heard one final sound. 3 knocks, and a whisper. Don't speak unless spoken to. Part 4. No one teaches whistling anymore. I woke up in the hospital. The nurses told me a hiker found me unconscious by the edge of the service road. My fingernails were shredded like I'd clawed through bark or cement. My throat was raw and my shoes were missing. They ran drug panels, did a psych eval, called it exhaustion and possible fugue state. I didn't correct them. I couldn't. Because how do you explain a sound you still hear, even now, when the room goes too quiet? How do you explain a song with no lyrics, no origin, but that still somehow feels intentional? 2 days later, the cops came. They found my car, and Mason's, and Erica's. The keys were still in the ignitions. All 4 vehicles parked neatly along the old trail like we'd intended to return in an hour. No footprints around them. No blood. No sign of struggle. They found the orphanage, or what remained of it, which wasn't much, just a foundation. Chunks of scorched brick, a few rusted bed frames tangled in vines. No second floor. No desk. No photograph. Not even a roof. The building had burned down in 1956, just like Mason said. All of it. But I'd walked its halls, sat in its rooms, read a child's notebook that didn't exist. What the hell had we stepped into? The news ran the usual story, 3 missing after alleged party in forest. They interviewed Mason's parents, Erica's sister, Jules' roommate. They never interviewed me. I stayed quiet, refused to talk, refused to whistle. But silence didn't help, because a week later the phone call started. They never lasted long. Sometimes just static, sometimes breathing, and once, just once, a voice, muffled, distant, a child's whisper. You learn the tune. Now teach it. I smashed the phone, burned the SIM, moved across the state and didn't tell a soul where I went. But it didn't matter, because the tune came with me. I tried to rationalize it at first. Auditory memory, psychological imprinting, maybe even some buried childhood trauma Mason infected us with through suggestion. But then something strange happened. I started hearing it in other people. A barista humming at a cafe, a janitor in the university halls, a mailman walking past my window. The same 6-note loop, whistled, tune, precise, like they'd been taught. And every time I turned to look, they'd stop, look confused, as if they didn't realize they were doing it. I started keeping notes. 3 months after the orphanage, I broke down and reached out to someone who might believe me. Professor Leon Ward, folklorist, paranormal researcher, semi-retired from Miskatonic State University. Yeah, that one. The one everyone online calls a crackpot. I emailed him everything. The house, the field, the man, the tune. Didn't expect a reply. Got one in under an hour. Subject, the whistling man. From Leon Ward, Professor Ward.occult@miskata.edu. Date, December 4th. Time, 2:09 a.m. He's not new. You just heard him for the first time. That's the difference. He sent an attachment. A scan of a newspaper clipping from 1893. The headline read, "Silent School Reopened Despite Tragedy, 6 Dead in Fire." The article talked about a private boarding school outside Hartford, St. Bellamy's Institute for Unspoken Discipline, founded by a former choir master named Edwin Marlowe. The school's philosophy? Enforced silence. Children weren't allowed to speak for 6 months at a time. Instead, they communicated through song, more specifically through whistling. Each child was assigned a unique melody. Breaking silence resulted in correction, which one student described as being locked in the walls. The school was shut down after a fire killed 6 students. No bodies were ever recovered. The only thing found intact? A wax cylinder phonograph. Still playing. Still whistling. I asked Leon if the orphanage was connected. His reply? Different names. Same tune. I asked if it was a ghost. His reply? No. Worse. It's a lesson. And lessons echo. I couldn't sleep that night. The sound came back stronger, like it had been waiting for me to remember. Not just in the walls, but in my chest, behind my ribs. like lungs that weren't mine were whistling from inside. I bit down on my tongue until it bled. I'd rather bleed than hum that melody. The next day, I drove 5 hours to find Leon in person. He lived in a rundown cabin in the Berkshires, surrounded by books, reels of old film, and records labeled "Do Not Play." He answered the door like he'd been expecting me. "Let me guess," he said. "You didn't come here alone. You brought it with you." He wasn't smiling. Inside, he showed me more clippings, sketches, old interviews from patients in 1960s institutions, all describing the same man. He walks wrong. He makes you be quiet. You hear the tune and then you're gone. They used to call it a disciplinary entity, Leon explained. A moral archetype, like the boogeyman but academic, whispered about in reform schools and orphanages. Obey or the whistler comes. But he's not metaphor, he's ritual, and the ritual spreads. Spreads how? I asked. Leon looked up from the folder. You heard the tune. You remember it, right? Yeah. Then it's in you now. That night we tried an experiment. Leon played a degraded wax recording of a child whistling. It sounded old, brittle, like it came from underwater. I recognized the melody instantly. Leon asked me to whistle it back. I refused, but my mouth didn't. My lips moved on their own. My chest tightened. I tried to scream but couldn't. The sound came out anyway. 6 notes. Sweet, precise, familiar. And somewhere outside the cabin, in the woods through the trees, something whistled back. Part 5. Where the silence drags. I stayed at Leon's cabin that night. Neither of us slept. After the incident with the wax recording, we boarded the windows and locked the doors. Not because we thought it would help, but because doing something felt better than doing nothing. Outside, the woods were utterly still. Not just quiet, mute. No rustling, no owls, no wind. As if the trees themselves were holding their breath. Leon handed me an old cassette tape recorder. Here, he said, keep this running. If it starts recording on its own, we run. Run where? He didn't answer. Instead, he lit an oil lantern and pulled a heavy ledger from a locked drawer. Handwritten pages filled with sketches, transcribed testimonies, and one repeated phrase. He drags the tongue first. I asked what it meant. Leon's eyes darkened. He doesn't take your soul. He takes your speech, your sound, everything that makes you part of this world. Piece by piece. First your voice, then your will, then your name. And the leg? I asked. The dragging? Leon nodded. That's how he moves. Through those who've already learned. He drags them with him. Sometimes in dreams. Sometimes in waking. They don't walk. They don't scream. They just follow. At dawn, we left the cabin. Leon insisted we go back to Hollow Pines. I refused. Then I agreed. Because deep down, I needed to know if the others were really gone, or if there was still a piece of them buried under all that ash. The woods hadn't changed. Still damp. Still choking. But something was different this time. The sound was backward. Bird calls reversed. Wind cutting in circular patterns. Even the crunch of our boots on leaves came with a slight echo, like a playback glitch in the air itself. Leon called it acoustic inversion. A place like this, he muttered, it loops. You're not hearing the world anymore, you're hearing him remember it. The clearing came quicker than I expected, but instead of ruins there was something new. A single door frame. No walls, no roof, just a freestanding, rotting door in the middle of where the house used to stand. Its hinges groaned gently in the breeze, though there was no wind. A symbol was carved into the wood, a spiral intersected by a diagonal slash. Leon stopped dead. He's re-establishing anchor, he whispered. That's new. What does it mean? It means, Leon said slowly, he's not just echoing anymore. He's building. We stepped closer. The dirt beneath our feet grew soft, spongy like walking on old carpet, and the air smelled sweet like dust and honey and mildew. Then faintly the melody returned. Same tune, but played on a different instrument. This time it wasn't whistling. It was teeth, clicking, tapping. 6 beats, repeated in rhythm, as if something was chewing the song from behind the door. Leon raised his recorder. It started spinning. By itself. We backed up. The door creaked open. There was no interior, no light, just void, dark like burnt velvet. A place without dimension. But inside that blackness, a shape moved, long, unfolding. It didn't step out. It bled out. A tall figure, body stitched from shadow, face half drowned in melted wax. Its legs trailed behind like smoke, one dragging sideways like a puppet half cut from its strings. And beneath its skin, I saw mouths, hundreds of mouths, silent, stitched shut. Leon raised a flask from his coat, holy water or gasoline I couldn't tell, and hurled it. It passed through the entity like mist, didn't even slow it. Instead, the figure turned its head toward me. One eye burned. The other was empty. It began whistling, but not from its lips, from its chest. A wet, wheezing whistle like air escaping a punctured lung. The sound coiled around my ears like wire. I fell to my knees, not because of fear, but because something inside me was answering. I heard myself humming, mouth closed, throat tight, but the sound came out anyway. The same 6 notes. Hollow. Like my body was leaking music I hadn't consented to release. Leon grabbed my arm. You have to break rhythm. Right now. I can't. Think of something else. Any other song. Something you made. I tried to conjure anything. A jingle, a childhood rhyme, even off-key happy birthday, but the tune inside me kept overriding it. Stronger, louder, smut. Then I heard a voice behind me whisper, "Good boy." I screamed, and the spell broke. The whistling stopped. The door frame snapped shut with a sound like bones locking into place. The entity receded, but not before it raised one hand. Long, scorched fingers curled toward its mouth. It mimed zipping its lips, and vanished. Leon and I didn't speak on the way back. He was pale, shaken. He kept looking at me like he was waiting for me to start humming again. That night I asked him, "What happens if I do whistle again?" He hesitated, then said, "You won't hear it alone." I dreamed of the others. Jules standing barefoot in a school hallway. Erica, eyes bleeding, humming into a corner. And Mason, sitting in a chair facing the wall, his back cracked open like a door. And from inside him, the tune played perfectly. Part 6. The Boy Who Whistled First. A week passed. No humming. No phone calls. No shadow in the window. But silence doesn't mean safety. In this story, silence is just a prelude. Leon stayed in touch through encrypted email. He warned me not to speak the tune out loud, not even to test myself. It spreads through memory, he wrote. It doesn't need ears, just remembrance. I tried not to think about it, but that's the thing, isn't it? The harder you try to forget a melody, the more it plays. Then the dreams started again. But this time they weren't mine. They were Mason's. I could feel it. The layout of his old childhood home, the worn carpet in the hallway, the shelves filled with VHS tapes and unopened cereal boxes. It wasn't a memory I had lived. It was one I was invited into. He was 8, sitting cross-legged on the floor, watching a blank TV screen. Static crackled. The room behind him was too quiet. Then from the hallway a sound. We. He turned, smiled, like he recognized it, like it was calling him. I woke drenched in sweat, gasping, my hands clenched around my pillow so tight my knuckles had gone white. On the wall near my bed, in condensation from the humid air, 6 small fingerprint marks, barely visible, but there, child-sized. I called Leon the next morning, told him I'd seen Mason, not just as a hallucination but as a vessel, a gateway. Leon confirmed what I feared. It didn't start in the forest, he said. It started with Mason. The trip to Hollow Pines didn't awaken it. It was already using him, drawing others in, using the melody as bait. I remembered how Mason always whistled, without thinking, when he was bored, when he was nervous. What if it hadn't been his tune at all? What if it was just practicing through him? We dug deeper into Mason's past. Leon found a juvenile incident report. Mason had been sent to speech therapy at age 6 for compulsive humming and nonverbal mimicry. According to school notes, he frequently sang without opening his mouth and was unable to stop, even when physically restrained. His therapist had made a chilling note. Subject whistles complex, repeating patterns not recognized in music archives. Claims he learned them from the boy under the stairs. The session ended when Mason bit through his own tongue. He was hospitalized for 3 days. Leon and I tracked down the therapist, retired now in upstate New York, a woman named Harriet Velasquez. When we explained who we were, she refused to meet in person, but she agreed to speak over the phone. What she told us changed everything. Mason wasn't the first, she said, and I don't think he'll be the last. Every 10 years or so, a child comes through the system with the same behavior. Tuneless humming, silent speech, dreams about schools or orphanages that don't exist anymore. We asked her how many. At least a dozen, she said. But that's just the ones I saw. It's always the same melody. It always comes with one phrase, don't talk, just listen. Later that night, I found a voicemail on my burner phone. It was only 7 seconds long, but it chilled me to my core. We, and then Mason's voice, soft, familiar, broken. He's learning faster now. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to go back, not to the clearing, not to Leon's cabin, not to some forgotten newspaper clipping, to where Mason grew up, to the place the dreams had shown me, the house with the cereal boxes, the static screen, the hallway that led nowhere but darkness. I found the address in an old envelope he'd once left in my car. Subconsciously, maybe he wanted me to come. The house was abandoned. Of course it was. Inside, everything looked like it had been frozen in time. Photos still hung on the walls, but all the eyes had been scratched out, not with rage but precision. Careful erasure. Even baby Mason's portraits bore deep gouges where his pupils once were. And in the living room, the TV still worked. Static, like it had never turned off. And over the static, faintly, a looped recording began to play. A boy's voice. I did it right. I made them listen. I made them quiet. The screen flickered. The hallway behind me creaked. I turned and saw the shape. Not the man this time, but Mason, or something shaped like him. His jaw hung slack, stretched too wide. His lips split open to reveal a mouth behind the first one. A second row of teeth designed for something other than speech. His eyes were glassy. He was humming, but not the tune. No, this was new. A counter melody, discordant, jagged. And for the first time, the house recoiled, like the melody was pushing back. I stepped toward him. Mason. His body shook violently, like he was glitching, too fast to be natural, too broken to be fully possessed. His voice came in a blur. He's in me, but he's not whole yet. You can stop it, but you have to finish the song, only the right version, not his. Then he snapped upright and screamed, but no sound came out, only whistling. 6 notes from every direction in the house, and something answered from beneath the floorboards. The boards began to bend, the room tilted, and all the windows went black, not with boards but with shadows, like something was blocking light from outside. The air grew thick. The song inside my head returned, louder, faster, and Mason's eyes turned to me one final time. Finish it, or he'll keep building. Then his body collapsed, and the humming stopped, but mine didn't, because now I was humming, and my foot, my right foot, wouldn't lift off the floor. Part 7. The dissonance. My foot wouldn't move. It wasn't stuck, not in a physical sense. There was no glue, no trap, no binding. But something beneath the floor pulled me down with the weight of memory. Every breath I took was met with resistance, not from the air, from inside my chest, as if my lungs were trying to whistle even as I gasped. The walls around me shimmered, not visually, audibly. I could hear them vibrating, not groaning like old wood. No, it was subtler, like bone humming in anticipation, like an auditorium waiting for its cue. I wasn't alone. From every corner of the room the sound rose. We, layered. One voice became 5. 5 became 15. Then hundreds. Some high, some low, some like the wind through rusted flutes. A choir of unseen mouths, all singing the same command. Finish the song. I clenched my teeth. No. The pitch rose. Glass cracked in the window frames. Dust fell like ash. The walls swelled outward and then pulsed back in, breathing. I reached into my coat, pulled out the recorder Leon had given me. It was still running. The red light blinked. Faster, then slower. Then it stopped. Then the song cut out. For the first time in minutes there was silence. But it was worse than the noise, because the silence thought. I could feel it analyzing me, calculating, waiting. Then the voice came. Oh, measured. Come. So close. And from the floor in front of me, a shape began to rise. It wasn't the whistling man. Not exactly. This was something more formed than before. A silhouette of charcoal, face masked by wax and soot, with 1,000 cracks in its skin. From each crack, sound. The noise of playgrounds, of hallways, of old wood, of gasping children and forgotten lullabies. He had no mouth, only a hole where one should be, but he still whistled, perfectly. Every note pressed directly into my mind. He didn't need air, he needed audience, and I was the last one left. He stepped toward me, one foot dragging, the other echoing on wood that should have broken. He raised one hand, a long stretched palm with too many joints, and pointed at my chest. Not a threat, a command. Sing. I almost did. My lips moved before I noticed. My tongue shaped the first 2 notes, but somewhere in the back of my mind, another rhythm beat. The counter melody, the one I'd heard Mason hum. Not his, not the whistler's, mine. I shut my mouth, bit the inside of my cheek until blood pooled on my tongue. The pain anchored me. I reached for my phone, not to call anyone but to play something. Anything. The song. A clip. Even static. But when I looked at the screen, there was a recording already playing. I hadn't started it. It had no title. Just a timestamp. 1:13, the diss. I hit play. What came out wasn't music. It was distortion, clashing tones, jagged pitch, off-key choruses layered over overlapping screams. The sounds you'd expect from broken speakers, corrupted tape, except this wasn't broken. It was intentional. A melody built not to harmonize, but to resist. The whistler froze, just slightly. His fingers twitched. The cracks in his body began to splinter wider. From them, black dust poured out, the same dust that had filled the old mansion, the same that tasted like iron and regret. I turned the volume up. The feedback screamed. He recoiled, not in pain, in confusion, like he couldn't comprehend dissonance. For something built on control, silence, and repetition, chaos was foreign. The song on the phone wasn't beautiful, it was defiant. He stumbled, and I remembered what Leon had said. You have to finish the song, but not his. So I began to whistle. Not the 6-note loop, mine. A broken rhythm, wrong timing, offbeat, sure. Each note a rejection. He screamed. The sound wasn't vocal, it was structural. The house shook. The windows exploded outward. Floorboards buckled. The ceiling opened like a mouth. I whistled louder. My voice cracked. My vision blurred. But I kept going. He lunged. Not with arms, with presence. A wall of force slammed into me, knocking me to the ground. My phone shattered beneath me. The sound stopped. The whistler towered over me. And then, another whistle. From behind. Leon. He stood at the shattered doorway, holding a speaker above his head. From it, feedback, distortion, reversed melody. The counter song. Leon's eyes were glassy with tears. His lips bled, but he kept the sound on. And together we watched as the whistling man crumbled. Not exploded, not vanished. He folded, piece by piece, like sound crashing into silence, like a broadcast fading from a dead channel. And when he was gone, the house sighed, collapsed. We pulled each other from the rubble. Neither of us spoke. We couldn't. Not for hours. Not because we were hurt. Because the silence still listened, waiting to see which song we'd choose next. That night, Leon burned the last of the wax recordings. I deleted every file, every clip, every whistle I'd ever stored. But when I tried to sleep, I dreamt of Mason again. And this time he was smiling. He mouthed one word. Almost. Part 8. Echoes in the quiet. I stopped whistling after that night. No humming. No idle tunes. Not even under my breath. If I caught myself about to, brushing teeth, pouring coffee, walking in a quiet room, I'd bite down hard until the moment passed. Because I know now what happens when you finish that melody. And I don't think he was ever really gone. Leon stayed with me for 3 more days. We didn't talk much. Words felt risky. But he left behind one thing, a sealed envelope. Inside was a single line handwritten in thick red ink. If you hear silence, real silence, leave the room. Below it coordinates, not to Hollow Pines, to a town in Missouri. I haven't gone yet. I tried going back to normal life. Got a job writing content blurbs for a hiking blog. Took early shifts, wore earbuds all day, stayed in cities with constant traffic hum. But quiet found its way in the cracks between playlists, in the gaps between bus arrivals, in those long static stretches before sleep. And sometimes right before I drift off, I hear it again. Not the whole tune, just the first note. Long, calling. It's not just me. Last month, I saw a man on the subway platform, tapping 6 fingers against his thigh in rhythm. Same cadence. He didn't even know he was doing it. When I coughed, he looked up and smiled like he recognized me. I didn't smile back. 2 weeks later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a cassette tape. Black. No label. I didn't play it. I took it out to the parking lot and crushed it with a crowbar. But now, every time I turn on my car, the radio glitches. Only one frequency stays clear. 107.6 AM. An empty channel, except some nights when the air is dry enough. It plays 6 notes, perfectly tuned, over and over and over. I don't know if I beat him. I don't know if anyone can, because he's not a ghost. He's not even a monster. He's a reminder, a forgotten lesson carved into the bones of the places we leave behind. Abandoned schools, burned churches, ruined orphanages, places where children were once told, "Speak only when spoken to." Quiet is obedience. Silence is holy. He is that silence, twisted, amplified, echoed through time by those who never got to scream. Sometimes I sit in a room alone just to test myself. No music, no voices, no distractions, and I listen. I wait, to see if my breath starts to sync with a rhythm not mine, to see if my foot taps a beat I didn't choose. Because if it does, if I ever finish that melody again, he'll know, and he'll come back. But maybe next time, I'll have something new to whistle.
And that was tonight's tale from the Shadowed Tales archive. If it left a mark on your mind, if the silence feels heavier now, then the story did what it was meant to do. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the darkness. New stories are always on their way. Until then, keep the lights low and the doors locked.